All right. Hi everyone, how is it going? Can we get if anyone is here and you can hear me, please sound off in chat. I want to make sure our audio is going well. But my name is Ray Lanchoni. I am the founder and CEO of Qweerty Gamers, a 501c3 LGBTQIA 2 plus gamer nonprofit. But for everyone's time, I will be shortening it to queer because it's in our name, literally Qweerty Gamers. And I have some awesome developers here today. They are the recipients of the Victoria Kennedy Micro Grant Quarter 2, and that is Heavy Thought Studios. And they are developing the game The Office Type. And I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves in just a moment. I just want to say thank you, Soup. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome on in. And I hope if you're new here, feel free to chat. If you're too shy, that's also completely fine. I totally get it. But yes, Dan, Jack, Clara, whoever wants to go first.
Hello, everybody. My name's Jack. I'm the creative director of Heavy Thought. We're developing the Office Type, a game where you can date your office supplies. I'll let the rest of the team introduce themselves. Dan, how about you?
Hey there, I'm Dan Mayday. I'm one of the writers and also producers here, and I just got an ad, so I'm not sure if you can still hear me, but yes, hello.
You're good, Dan. Hi, my name is Clara. I am a writer and editor at Heavy Thought Studio.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so if you are coming in just now, we have iPuppy that is streaming the Office Type demo. The Office Type demo is available on Steam. So if you would like to go and wishlist it, that would be super helpful. We have the command, the Office Type in chat, and that is super helpful for devs because it helps push it to like For You pages for other people. So if there's ever a game dev you want to support, it's super easy. Just go and wishlist it on Steam. And I will do that command right now. The Office Type. Also, if you'd like to support the developers, we provided a $1,500 grant, but of course games are expensive, and if you can make a donation to the developer, we have the donate function, and that will go to their PayPal, and that will help fulfill, I don't know, maybe you, Clara, you said you write, right? That will help with writing. So
It'll inspire me to write so well, you guys. I'm gonna do novel level stuff the more you donate.
yeah.
Thank you
Okay.
for anyone who jumps in. We really appreciate it.
Okay, so we can just jump into questions right now. Are y'all ready? Are you ready for my 17 questions? I don't know if we'll get them all.
Yeah, sounds good.
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So my first question to the
Let's do it.
developers, and if this will help also explain what the game is for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. Actually, would it be okay if I play a trailer really quick?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, we're gonna play a trailer right now. Oh, hold on. I didn't account for the name tags being over them, so let me grab the name tags. And we're going to bring them all the way to the bottom. That way the video obscures them. All right, now we're playing the video. And that is the trailer. And now I will go into my first question, which is why? What inspired you to make this game? What was the how did the idea come about? And whoever wants to chime in first.
Sure. This is the question I get the most out of any question. And it's always so funny to me because everybody comes with the question, okay, so you want to date your stapler, right? Everyone goes for the stapler for some reason. But in
Because I
reality,
believe you have my stapler.
yeah, it all came from one day. Um, I was sitting at my desk and I saw a game called Boyfriend Dungeon. Some people may have heard of it. As it's a dungeon crawler where your weapons turn into people and you date them. By Kit Fox Games, and of course, very inspiring work. And I was sitting there at my desk, and I had a pencil and a pen on my desk, and for some reason, I thought, what if these two were brothers? And from there, Cyril and Benjamin were born, and I started thinking, like, okay, if there were a world where you could uh, date people in an office setting, and they happen to be made out of office supplies, what would those office supplies be? And it sort of all spread from there.
I love that. That's so cute. I mean, I guess I would choose game controller. I don't know. It's on my desk. That's awesome. Anyone else? Does anyone else want to add to that, or I can get to the next question? And if anyone has questions in chat, feel free to drop them. If we do have time, we can get to them. Okay, so this one of the reasons why we picked you as our grant recipients. The cast is diverse. So, how did you create this diverse cast of characters in the game? What was that process like?
Sure. Firstly, thank you so much for the grant. It really is going to help a lot. Um, and yeah, like we wanted to create a world, firstly, that had a lot of options. Um, the thing I personally noticed in games, especially dating sims, was you might get a bigger cast of characters, but it might force you to focus on maybe one or another character. So if we had this big variety, our game has 24 characters to romance. There should be um, the diversity you would see in a real life setting. Um, of course, like drawing those experiences from our own lives. Some of our team were character designers and helped out with some of the designs and had input where myself and others uh, didn't have the right perspective. Um, but yeah, we just created a world that we thought the real world should reflect.
And correct me on your name again one more time because I forget. It's Clara, right? Not Clara.
Opposite. Clara.
Clara. Clara. So you wrote for these characters, right?
Yes, I wrote 3 of them, and I've edited for quite a few others.
So I want to maybe ask this question towards you as well.
Mhm.
How did you write for these diverse characters? And that might be that we might tap into that later, but just since we're on the topic, um, how did you create? How did you create? How did these characters come to life through your writing?
That's a great question. And I think Jack did a really great job in one creating a team of writers. It's not just myself. I am not the entire writing team. And so I think they were very good at sort of assigning characters to individuals that kind of reflected their personal backgrounds per se, or like, for instance, I wrote for characters who are predominantly white because it's just the perspective that I have as a queer white person. And so their characters, the ones that I wrote for in particular, there was sort of a collaboration where Jack had an idea of what their story might be. And I worked with them and with my editor because there were also like multiple editors, going over each other's characters, because I obviously should not be the one to look over my own writing. And I mean,
Same.
I'm like, it's perfect. Send it out. But so there was like a collaborative effort there in the beginning in planning it, but I think there were just, as a writer, you just kind of get a feel for the character you are writing, and you start to get sort of personal with them, and you get these ideas that feel like they make sense to you. Like, there's one character, he was the first character I wrote for, Benjamin. And I'm not going to give too much away about his story, because you got to see to find out. But he is very big on expressing himself through like doodling on artwork. And I remember having an idea where he's kind of stressed out in a scene, and he just like picks up a napkin and starts drawing on it, because it just feels like a natural reaction that he's having. And so it's a nice way to sort of get that characterization while also feeling true to the original kind of thesis statement that we had for him. And yeah, that's always been kind of my experience in situations like this. You let the characters speak for themselves, and it just kind of flows naturally after that.
I love that. Dan, is there anything you
Yeah, just
wanted to
a
add?
quick add-on to that.
Yeah.
I did some writing too and some behind-the-scenes stuff, but I really love how these characters have been a conversation. Jack had a phenomenal kind of outlook on who these characters were, but I think what really speaks to this game is that we have changed a significant number of things from those original characters. Some names and other like big things have changed because we had a lot of conversations back and forth on who these characters were, how they all fit together. And I think that emulates kind of the office environment. You have pushback, you have kind of nuanced conversations and figure things out along the way. So I think that kind of evolving conversation really speaks in the game.
Like a relationship, you kind of do think, figure
Exactly.
things out on the way. I love like how organic it is. And we just got a raid from iPuppy, who was playing the demo. Puppy, tell us who you romanced, and also thank you so much everyone for coming in. Welcome on in. We are just in the beginning of our beautiful, amazing, organic conversation about the office type. These are the developers, Dan, Clark. I don't know why I keep messing up your name, Clara, right? I'm like, I think I'm dyslexic or something. Clara.
Yeah,
Clara.
you're good.
I don't know why I'm saying, like, who's Clara? Anyway, Clara and Jack. And they are all here. We are celebrating. I actually have feedback for them. Yay! Okay, cool. Feel free to drop it in chat. And we have a question from Topher as well, above iPuppy's raid. So if we want to get to that in a bit, you're more than welcome to. So yeah, everyone, sit tight. Thank you, iPuppy. If you need to de-stream, you're more than welcome to. If you did y'all see Topher's question? Do you want to answer that now, or we can move on and wait? Up to you. The question was, gotta scroll up because there's just so many people. Do we have a favorite character you've designed?
Ooh.
And if so, which one?
There are a lot to choose from. I find myself coming back to two in particular. Benny, which is our fountain pen character. Sort of this very stern, hard to reach, like a lot of walls put up type of person, but who's really just trying to strive toward a better situation for their career. Really cool to see a character sort of be broken down into like a relatable person who can get, like, once you get to know them, you can really connect despite the brash personality. Another one that I always come back to is an Antonella. Um, this sort of like frustrated artist who's just trying to do her job and dealing with things like art theft and uh, being underpaid. Things you might see as like a junior employee at an office. And it's cool to see someone you can sort of relate to and almost sort of struggle with and bond over shared experiences.
Also, Benny's hair. I definitely, once I can afford a haircut, sides are going off, and I'm just gonna be Benny. So there you go.
Perfect.
Do either of you have?
Yeah, my favorite is Mosin, and that's just purely for aesthetic reasons. He is just so suave and like so approachable and so kind. And I like the way that we kind of adapted the really old school looking stapler to be this like very kind of debonair looking gentleman. Yeah, so no other reason than I just like would absolutely love to date him.
Everyone,
I
everyone is gushing in chat about them. So I love that.
I fell for the classic writer trope of falling in love with one of your characters. I really love my sad boy Antonio. I only want the best for him and his dog. But I will say Conrad was so much fun to write. And I think the playthrough kind of gets that. It's a really fun Rob.
Yes. And if y'all don't know these characters, again, there's a link in chat. You can go and download the demo right now on Steam, go and wishlist it. And also on the website, there's a full list of the characters, all of them in beautiful order, but not in particular order. They're all beautiful, so there's no order because it's all just number one. Okay, I'm gonna move on to my next question. And again, if y'all have questions in chat, feel free to drop them. We'll try and get to them. The next question that I have is, how do you balance the humor and comedy elements of the game with more serious themes of relationships and identity?
This is a really fun one to discover as we started writing for the game. Of course, if you're writing a game about dating office supplies, everyone thinks, oh, this is super silly, goofy. And you expect this, like, everything's funny, right? But a dating sim, you're getting to know these characters. You're supposed to make these connections with people. And we sort of discovered that if you start off with the idea of dating a pencil, uh, eventually you discover that pencil is a person, and that person has real hopes and dreams, where they want their career to go, who or what they want to do with their, things they want to do with their life. Um, and all these individuals have their own identities. They're all very unique people, as you would see in a regular office setting. Um, and you sort of you just like discover these connections that are sort of right alongside the comedy. Uh, and I sort of like that mixture of sincerity and comedy. I feel like goes really well together.
I think there's also something to be said for the fact that like the player character is just a huge dork. So like we are, as the player just being kind of goofy while also like Jack said experiencing these people who, they all have real problems, real aspirations. It never goes to anything like terribly serious or like hurtful or anything like that, but you can get a sense of, what these people want, what they're frustrated with, and you can share these things with them. And I think being that the player character is kind of a dork and kind of silly, there's a good bit of like balance between being able to make a situation a little bit lighter for some of the characters when they're struggling, while also, like being intuitive enough to let them have their moment and just be with you.
It's the peanut butter to the pill the dog has to eat, right? Like it's like you need to get that seriousness, that really important part. You need to make it a little sweet, and I think I really love that. And tangent, that's why I love Star Trek, by the way. If no one has watched Star Trek, that's why I love it. Comedic relief is super important. So I do love that y'all have focused and balanced it pretty well. I've played the demo, and I know Puppy just played it, so I think a lot of people will agree. Dan, did you want to add to that? Not to put you on the spot or anything. No? Okay. All right. So my next question, this one's important to me, is can you speak to the importance of LGBTQ representation in gaming? How do you think the office type will contribute to that representation?
Yes, so this was really important when we first started developing the game, and of course, still important. Um, you have usually in the game industry, you'll see maybe some queer characters here and there. Um, maybe the main character has a friend who's gay or something like that, and there's progress, but it's not normalized. I feel there should be more. Um, what the community represents should be pervasive. It should be throughout everything you see. Um, and that's sort of what we did with the office type, where all these characters have different identities, and um, they they all are interested in the player, and you're allowed to romance more than one of them at the same time. All these things that you don't often see in games in general, let alone dating sims. And really, we want to sort of have our game as a stepping stone. We are doing our best to make good representation in the game industry, but every game should be like this, or every game should be better than this. And we're happy to be the start of that.
I love that. I love that normalizing. I think that my first experience with normalizing like the player being queer if like they want to be queer is like Stardew Valley. I know that's something I always go back to. Stardew Valley and The Sims. It's just like not even a question. It's just like you are, and if the player is queer, then the player is queer. And so that's what I think what I really love about your game is the player can make that decision if that's what they are, that's what they are. And I love that the characters in the game also have their own identity, um, which is something I think better than say Stardew Valley, where um, queerness is not as representative. It's really what the player wants specifically. So I think this is totally a step in the right direction because, and this is something this is something I'll talk at length at because we are Qweerty gamers. Um, but this kind of content is what's needed around the world, especially in places like Russia and China, where these kinds of themes are being censored or looked down upon, or um, you know, being looked at critically. And it's these games that will help people express themselves in the future. It's these themes that they can't find it in TV, but in gaming, it's a lot easier to find these themes now. And so, if anything, I want to thank all three of you and the rest of your team for making a game like this. And I will let Dan get to this question if you had anything to add to this, and I don't think did I add this question? Is there going to be localization for this game?
Um, just by the
Eventually?
sheer amount of content we have, it's not feasible, but we'll do what we can.
Totally fair. I'm sure, down the line, especially because I know this game will be successful, I've seen games where they'll add translations at the end, like later on. And so I'm excited for that to happen in the future. I know it will happen because y'all are successful. Dan, is there anything that you wanted to add to this question, or if any, the two of you as well, if you wanted to add more?
Yeah, I'll jump in if I'll let Dan go first if they would like to.
Thanks. So what I love about the game is that this inclusion is kind of baked into the DNA of it. There's no like, oh, this is the queer scene, this is the token character. Like it goes through a workplace that is dysfunctional, it's goofy, and there's those serious and whatever moments, but like there's never any doubt of like the identity of the intern or of anybody else. And I think that really speaks to it. And I think when we talk about less friendly places where people might play this game, I think that's kind of the beauty of the design, because it's not, this is the gay game about being gay. it's a workplace rom-com basically. And I think that is so important to have accessible ways to experience these stories. I remember one of my coming out influences was accidentally finding queer options in like the Dragon Age series and be like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And oh, I guess well, hold on. And the game isn't about that. It's about, dragons and fantasy and all this other stuff. But I think having that central inclusion baked in is so important to allow multiple access points.
I love that. So my next question is something that, Jack, you kind of touched on in the beginning of this conversation. So I want to see if there is anything else you can add to it. If not, that's fine, because there are some more folks in here for the live portion of this panel that they can hear your answer again. Is what made you choose inanimate objects as representation of people?
Yes. So for those who might not have heard the very beginning of the stream, a lot of this was inspired by the game Boyfriend Dungeon, where you date your weapons. But this is not a new concept. There have been a lot of games that you're dating something that's, let's say, non-traditional. A big influence for us was Hatoful Boyfriend, where you're dating anime representations of pigeons. But there's sort of this established idea that objects or animals or something else can be represented as human, or in our case, turned into human. And those sort of representations take on the characteristics of what they used to be, and that sort of informs their character. That's really fun to play with design-wise, but also just like personality. Like, how is the fountain pen different from a mechanical pencil? But yeah, we had the idea and ran with it.
Does anyone else want to chime in on this question? I know we already kind of talked about it. Okay, I can totally move on then to this is one I really want to know about, because, well, we'll talk about why. What was your decision in default, intimacy, and non-romantic pathways?
Yes, so that goes back to sort of the like having so many characters and having the ability to romance or befriend any one of them. We wanted the player to have a lot of choice. So if you're getting to know 3 characters at the same time, 3+ characters at the same time, maybe you don't want to date them all. Maybe you really want to be friends with this one, or be intimate with another. And having those different pathways gives you that choice. You're not forced into either, I'm going to go on dates just with this one person over and over, or I guess I have to date all 3 of these people. People will be able to choose what they want.
I think we may have lost Dan.
I think we lost it.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's Dan.
Oh,
okay.
whoa,
Hi.
yeah.
I was like, I see space, because this is a Star Trek background for me. The reason why I asked is because what if so I can date all 3 if I want?
You can, yes.
I can be poly.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So Clara, was there something we can jump back and forth? So I'm just saying our internal chat. Was there something that you wanted to add to another question? Because I'd love to hear.
Oh, I think just on the subject of like the queer representation, just kind of piggybacking off of things that were already said, I think that there's something to be said, especially right now during a time of such contention within the LGBT community internally and especially externally. that you can just log on and play this game that you're queer and it's easy. It's not something that has to be earned. It's not something that has to be a huge aspect of your journey. And of course, like that identity is something that is inherent and it's important to you, but it is not the end all be all of your story. And I think that right now it's a really nice time to have something like that where you can just have this kind of fun little escapism game as a queer individual to be able to have these experiences. Like sometimes we all just need a little bit of escapism.
Yeah,
So yeah,
totally.
thank you for going back to that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And to combine both these questions, I think as a lot of us are aware, like you mentioned, like I feel like there's this point where it's all coming to one, like there are drag dans and all this stuff. And I think we're all looking a little bit for some queer joy, right? And what I really love about from what I played through the demo, it's not too mushy either, right? I've been looking for some queer joy, and I won't name anything specifically, but it was just too mushy, too soap opera-y for me, and I was just like, I can't do this. It's like this isn't realistic. But these characters are just there's so many sides to them, and also the fact that what we were talking about, being able to be intimate, being able to just be friends. There's queer joy for everyone here because there's also an asexual and an aromantic path. And so that's what I really love about this is that path, and even something for me where if I want, we're not censoring here. If I want to fuck everyone, I can. So I love that there are those options, and yes, there is some queer joy, especially in the time that we need it. From those two questions, is there anything else that we want to add to?
This is like an aside because I've known Jack for like a very long time and I'm quite close with them, and I've known quite a bit about this passion project since it was first thought up. But Jack is someone who really prioritizes connections with humans, whether it's like romantic or otherwise. And I think that really shows in this game that, like you said, there can be routes where you just have sex. Maybe that's it. Maybe you romance them. Maybe you just decide to be friends and that's not the route that you want to go. And I think that, there's still a really nice aspect of just being able to interact with these characters and choose for yourself what kind of relationship you want to have with them.
And that's sort of what games like this are sort of all about, making those connections. And we've set up a system where you can have all this choice. You're sort of going after exactly what you want to go for, while it's still all contained in this relatively short experience, that you can play more, replay a lot if you want to know more.
I love that. I love replaying games. That's my favorite thing, is when I can get so many hours into one game and it pops up at the top of my Steam profile. So, yay, thank you. This isn't a question I wrote down. Are there going to be achievements? Can I achieve things in this game?
We're looking into it. It's all dependent on platform specifics, but Steam does have achievements.
And since it was mentioned, I don't know if that's a question either. How long have you been working on this?
A long time. Longer than we expected. It started in October of 2017. But it's important to note that this has been very part-time. Just sort of like in the in-between spaces of our day jobs and our personal lives. Not to mention, the whole pandemic really messed with our dev schedule.
There's a pandemic?
Yeah, I didn't know if you heard.
Okay.
Not anymore, according to, CDC.
Who and the CDC.
It's done now. We've canceled it.
Yes. Yeah, I've been working on it for a while. Hoping to be done soon. And we really hope you enjoy what we've created.
all great things aren't rushed. That's all I'll say. Um, we can all definitely see uh, the hard work you've all put into this game, and look, we're almost in year 5, and like there are definitely things that I haven't been able to get to in 5 years. So do not, if there is any anxiety about that, don't have it. I think we're all really excited, and hey, look, you have a playable demo. It's beautiful. The artists are the same folks as. Can I say it? Is that something I can say here? The artists
Yeah,
are the same as
the
Dream
character
Daddy.
artists.
The character
Mhm.
artists, same as Dream Daddy. Uh, and it's on Steam. Like that's super cool. Like that is more than most people have achieved. So good job. I'm gonna move on unless there is more that we want to talk about, and if there ever is something we want to move back to, feel free to hit me up in here. I will periodically check our internal chat, and if there are any questions, feel free to drop it in chat and Twitch. We're gonna move on to our question here, just for the sake of time, is what research did you do when developing the game's storyline and characters? Did you consult with any experts or communities for input?
Yeah, so a lot of our writing came from, of course, our writers' personal experiences, but in certain cases, not to give away too much about stories, but certain characters have certain specialties or identities, and we reached out to members of those uh, communities and careers to get those extra details. It's really important to note that our team is more than just the three of us here. There are many people, um, and we had like side consultants. We've had voice actors who added like parts to characters, things like that. So much work went into this, um, and the three of us can't possibly represent everything that we did over the last 5 years.
That's great. I mean, you can really see it. I like you can really see it in the characters, like when you're playing. Like you can just you can read it, you can see it. Um, but I think yeah, it's also just good to know, and that's why I added this question. Anything else that you all wanted to add to this? Okay. So how did you decide on the game's art style and soundtrack? That I think everyone just visually it's stunning, and I saw iPuppy listening to music and then heard the music play in the background of the game. I was like, so how is that? I mean, we love it already, but how is that decision made? Like, how did that happen? Tell us the story.
Oh, it's been a mix of a lot of things. Firstly, characters, as you mentioned, were drawn by Epsy, the same artist who worked on Dream Daddy. We sort of took inspiration from other games, other dating sims, and also from art from around us. For example, the background artist is one of Claire's friends. Um, and everything about the design is sort of an amalgamation of our experiences and the kind of worlds we wanted to see as we played these games ourselves.
Um, yes, it's uh. By the way, our vice president of the organization did PR for Dream Daddy. So when he said Dream Daddy, I was like, I know that game. That's so cool. But yeah, the background's beautiful. Um, the characters are just so. I mean, they're also hot. Did I mention that? Oops, everyone's hot.
Yeah.
Like, okay, they're
Oops,
hot.
all hot.
Oops, all hot. Like,
Captain Crunch's oops, all hotties. If I can just jump in and be annoying though, please,
yes.
I'm gonna drop his website in the chat. Yeah, my friend Prince Lowell, he is a transgender Swedish artist, and he is incredible. He does obviously our background work, which is stunning, but he also uh, is in like a lot of really cool fandoms. I know he does a lot of great like Genshin Impact art and what have you.
Ooh.
So yeah, I am gonna post that in the chat, and check him out.
Awesome. Where did you put that link?
Just kidding. It is not letting me post the link for some reason.
If you post it in our internal chat, I will post it for you.
Yeah, I think it's because
Yeah.
I don't have a Twitch account. Oops, sorry.
Oh yeah, this is their first time on Twitch, y'all. So welcome to
My
Twitch.
first ever Twitch stream. So
Uh,
it's going great, as you can see. But thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for letting me give that little shout out. He does some seriously great work, and I'm really proud to have him as part of this project.
Of course, yeah. Link is in chat, everyone, if you'd like to go and take a look. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, please go on.
I just wanted to add one more thing. Yeah, there's so many people who contributed so much to this game, and you had mentioned the music. We had the wonderful Elliot Callaghan working on our soundtrack for us. It was a lot of fun. I have a bit of a music background myself, so I sort of helped out translating who these characters were into their themes and such. But of course, the composer himself needs all the credit. Some beautiful music in this game.
Is that going to be available anywhere in the future? Like if we wanted to listen to it? Do you know?
We're not sure yet, but all of it is currently in the demo if you want to hear it.
I'll just have the game playing in the background. Alrighty, let's move on to another question, and feel free to chime in if there's something that you wanted to say. I'm gonna move on to this question since we're at 10:25. We got about 30 minutes left. So what has the response been from gaming communities, from the LGBTQ community, or any other communities you want to mention? What has the response been to the Office type?
That's been a really fun thing to see as the game, as the demo got into Steam and things like that. As we started to grow, a lot of it is these little communities, like small Twitch streamers, things like that, just loving what we've made, and we so appreciate that. It's incredible to see. Um, there's sort of this outpouring of support from people like us and people in and around the LGBTQ plus community, and everyone is sort of just as excited as we are to have this game out there. Um, the gaming community as a whole, we see little bits here and there. People might reference us, post about this in an article here and there. Um, and we're glad to see it sort of capturing people's attention, not only to show that our hard work is starting to pay off, but to have this sort of really nice space, like Clara was mentioning, um, where there's this moment of joy that you can play this game and sort of relish in this community that is similar to your own.
That's cool. I mean, and we saw it in Puppy's stream, the response, and now as well. Everyone, Puppy asked a funny question. Are any of the characters a pup?
Play the demo and find out for yourself.
Yeah, Puppy, play the demo.
I
Come
will
on.
give a hint and say that several characters have dogs,
Yeah,
and I've made sure you can pet the dogs.
Yes.
very important. Had to interject there and be like, hey.
So this is an interesting question I really want to know, and I'm sure other folks do as well. What was the decision to self-publish?
Yes, so sort of out of necessity almost, where a lot of indie games, it's difficult to find a publisher. Sort of the default has to be self-publishing. But these days, there are more tools than ever to sort of do that. Any person can get onto Steam, upload something through the greenlight process. Um, and of course, we don't know where our path is going to go. Maybe there's a publisher out there for us. Um, but for right now, we have these tools here and there to get our game out there. And as more and more people play it, that sort of conversation changes. of who wants to represent us or make us a part of their process.
Do you think because there are queer elements in this game that it may have made it a little more risky for someone to invest, a publisher to invest in this game? Do you think that might be an issue, not just you, but other developers are facing?
I think it's a real issue people might encounter. I suppose yes, it does make it more risky. Not every community supports, LGBTQ people and in games and other media like that. But it shouldn't be a problem. It should just be just another aspect, another genre. Communities tags on streaming sites. We haven't encountered that personally. We've only seen love from the community, um, and yeah, we hope we hope it's less of a problem for us and other developers moving forward.
Yeah, and just a quick note, like in the future, this is our first game, but Heavy Thought plans to make more games in the future, and um, being a queer team making games for queer people, I think those themes are going to be in whatever other games you make in the future.
Yeah, I
Yay.
mean, we're in a time where unfortunately there is still definitely like queer censorship happening, especially in like media. You look at especially like children's TV shows, they try and put in like a queer couple and they just immediately pull the plug on it. And but the thing is like we're not going to stop telling our stories. We're not going to stop existing and we are not going to stop reminding people that our stories are important and worth telling. And that is the way to normalize this shit. I mean, you just gotta keep hammering it in. Like, we are not going away. Drag is not going away, no matter how much the people in Texas hate it. Like, it's going to be a thing. And yeah, that's definitely the nice thing. The nice aspect about having to self publish is like, fuck it. This is our story. We're doing what we want.
And that, everybody, is a TikTok clip. Uh, so, and this question might be a little, if you don't want to give too many specifics, that's totally fine. I think it's important for an audience to know like what goes into making a game like this. So could you maybe let us know like what does it take to develop a game like this? Um, you can get into costs if you want. And I'm gonna combine the next question as well. What programs, tools, what does it all take to make a game like this?
Yeah, so there's a whole lot that goes into making any game, but especially a game with so much content, so many writers, so many people working on it, not to mention the time and tools you need. Um, I think it's sort of important to separate into two things that it took to make the game: time and cost. The cost um, gets exponentially bigger the longer you take. Um, for people who were part of our Kickstarter campaign, we had around $20,000 that were used for mostly the artwork. And we've had a lot of other costs ongoing since then. To give someone and watching a general ballpark figure, upwards of 50,000 minimum. um, it takes a lot to make a game. Even if you're working on it yourself, you still have to pay for your rent, your food, all these things multiplied by how many people are working on the game. And it's important to pay um, the people you work with what they should be paid, and sort of conforming to those standards that we should all be setting. It gets expensive. Um, Combine that with the amount of time you're forced to work on a project due to things out of your control, perhaps. It all gets to be a lot. Um, but of course, more than ever, there's tools that help people like us make these games. We do a lot of stuff in Unity. Unity is our main engine. A lot of our graphics work, things like Photoshop, Adobe Premiere Pro for trailers and things like that. We use Trello. Trello, if you know, is a sort of like organizational tool. Just a lot of little things that all come together to make one big picture.
And I'm sure people are wearing lots of hats as well,
Yes.
as us in our organization, as I was even at larger organizations that like I used to do community management and quality assurance for video games. And I still wore a lot of hats, so I totally feel that. Um, so that's cool. I think that's something I think a lot of folks are always wondering is like what it takes, and I appreciate your response. But again, I want to remind you, look at where you are now, though. Like, that sounds like a lot, but damn, look at where you are now. So I hope y'all are giving a pat on your back to yourself and to others in your org. That's really, really awesome. Anyone else want to add anything to that? Otherwise, I can move on to some other questions. We have about like 25 minutes. I want to play your trailer one more time at the end of this. So for anyone that's coming into the tail end of this stream, that they can visually see what we're talking about as well. But I can move on.
I've got a few things. So, I mean, overall, just kind of reading what Jack said, patience and persistence are so important. Obviously, there's the financial cost that everybody focuses on, and there's time, but the energy really plays a huge part. And it goes both ways. It's the energy that keeps us going from the community, from other people who are excited, that really helps motivate us. The energy that we have of we love these characters. We're doing this clearly not for the money, not for any sort of thing, but because we're making the content that we want to see in the world, that we want to, that we wish we had in other times in our lives, probably. And I think I want to give a shout out to Qweerty Gamers because your grant has allowed us to do some really cool stuff that we're excited about. And we even said this in our grant application. But I want to encourage other people doing similar projects to just be really authentic in what your aims are. And don't be afraid to ask for something a little out of left field. The money we're getting from this grant, we're going to be using for sensitivity consultants to get an outside perspective. We already had consultants and connected research throughout the writing of individual characters. But what this grant is going to allow us to do is somebody to take a 30,000 foot view of the entire game, read through everything, make sure, all right, what are the themes of this overall product? What needs fixing? What needs, more? And I'll be honest, a lot of other funding sources would never give us money for a sensitivity consultant or anything like that. So we were very happy when we found the grant in Qweerty because it was a perfect sort of partnership. And it wasn't one we found early on or easily. It took some digging, but we're very glad we made the connection. All this is happening because of it. So I think it all comes back to that patience and persistence. And if you're looking to do a project like this, remind yourself of the passion that you have and just hold on to that until you can find some other people to really share that with and build something really cool with it.
Thank you for the shout out. Yes, I think I love the recommendations you gave there, and that is kind of the point of our organization is to support things that normally wouldn't be considered, especially like for like the for-profit world, especially if you did find a publisher. This is something that maybe they're like, well, not speaking for your future publisher if you do get one, but when you do take the nonprofit approach, then we can we can put people before profit, and I think that is what you're doing with this game anyway. Of course, you do got to eat at the end of the day, but I think at the same time you're still taking you're making the conscious effort to make sure that the game is for everyone. No matter who you are, you can play this game. And I hope at the end of the day that we can continue to support games like you and your studio that are making content that will affect people's lives and also make them laugh at the end of the day and give them that energy we're all talking about. And also, I keep hearing, Jack, what did you say? Was it time and what were the two things that you categorized?
Yeah, time and cost, like the actual money.
Time and
But
cost.
yeah, but especially with Dan said, the energy uh, can take its toll on you, just like any other person. But we've really loved seeing people like excited to stream, excited to play the demo. That really helps a lot.
And it reminds me, I don't know why, if anyone plays World of Warcraft or just Warcraft, the goblins will be like, "Time is money, friend." Like, that it keeps ringing in my ear for some reason. But I love that. So let's see, we're good. Okay, we got 20 minutes. I'm gonna ask. Well, okay, I want to ask this one. So it's kind of like going back to another question, but I want to know how intimate will the game get? Because I saw not family friendly option. How not family friendly is it? I want to know. Can I stream it on? Will I be able to stream it on Twitch?
So what we've been going with is, I would say, not kid friendly,
Okay.
probably okay to stream.
Okay.
Nothing is like no explicit images, some risque images here and there. Story wise, you might encounter some more risque stuff, but I think overall, if you're looking for something extremely intimate, there are games for that. Um, but yes, depending on the character, there's different types of intimacy you might encounter. But yes, not kid friendly. Uh, Probably stream friendly.
Some bathing suits, maybe.
Maybe a bit more than that, but
If we get
that-
a million streamers, I'll write like an erotica spinoff of whatever character you choose.
Just a mod for the game. Just be like, this is that other version.
Yeah,
Yes.
an expansion pack, but it's a book.
I think the important thing to say is that we listen to the community, and post-release, if the community very clearly says we want smut, well, we listen to the community.
Please give me smut. Anyway, okay. I was super like, these characters are hot. I want to see more.
Yeah. I mean, queer stories are important, but queer sex is also very important, like just
Indeed.
putting that out there.
Yeah, they don't teach that in sex. Well, they didn't teach that in my sex ed. I had
They're trying to
figure-
get that man too in certain places, I think. They're just
Right.
like, figure it out.
And that's where your game comes in. Anyway. Okay, so for anyone who didn't see this, and I didn't know this until I played the demo, how did you approach the match 3 puzzle gameplay? Like, there's a puzzle part of this game. And I was like, for anyone who knows me, I don't do puzzles very well. It took me an hour to figure out. There's this game called De-Exit. It's an indie game that I received through Keymailer. It took me an hour to figure out the first puzzle. That being said, your puzzle was a little easier. I was able to do the thing. So, yeah, were there any like specific like challenges? Were there any considerations you had to take into account when adding that kind of gameplay to a visual novel?
Yeah, so just like you just mentioned, there's a difference between a visual novel and a dating sim, where a dating sim you might have more than just the story going on. We found that match 3, like a combo mini game, is just fun. Fun to have this like little break where you're sort of simulating a date. How well you do in the mini game is how well you're doing on the date, that sort of thing. For people who have seen or played the demo, you might notice our twist is that our match 3 is with sticky notes, whereas there's a bit of a mechanic where you're trying to group lines of more than 3 most of the time, colors or symbols of these sticky notes at the same time. And we sort of took a classic, the match 3 classic, from games we've played and put our own spin on it. One, to add the fun factor, but it also helps inform the sort of stats behind the game, the relationship levels you have with your characters. And for people who don't want to do that sort of game, there is the option to skip it, and you just have all visual novel.
And I love that you considered doing the symbols for folks that are like colorblind, like my partner. like you like already off the bat it's just like, but like there's the accessibility right there. Um, and did that was there a conversation about that? Like, did the symbols or like was that just like a no-brainer or how'd that come up?
Um, a lot of it was iterative, but we like to think we are including accessibility as much as we can. Um, yes, symbols, as you mentioned, are helpful for those who can't differentiate the colors very well. We also have a very subtle thing as default in the mini game, where the background color changes. So you might see uh, different colors pop or see these different patterns as you play the game. But we're also looking into specifically colorblind accessibility to change the colors of the notes themselves. Of course, as a small team, limited time, limited resources, there's so much accessibility options we wish we could add in there, but we are adding more to be seen in the full game.
I love that. Anything that you two, all right, y'all, you're right here. Nothing? Okay. Um, then I'm going to go on to this next question. And I'm also going to ask something that someone mentioned in chat. So, what are your plans for the future of the Office type? Will there be future updates, expansions? And then someone asked about the platforms. So we know it's going to be on PC. Are there plans for other platforms?
Yes, so it's very complicated behind the scenes, but of course, starting out on Steam for Windows, hoping to get our Mac build up there soon as well. And of course, we don't know what the future holds, but we'd love to have this on other platforms, mobile, Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. Um, but there's a lot of things to consider. Things like controls. For example, if you ported this to mobile, um, uh, how do you work in touch or controller functionality, um, size of the game, certification for these platforms. There's a lot of factors to think about. Um, we think there's going to be plenty of content to see in the game. Not sure if there will be extra content, but we'll see where development takes us.
That's exciting. So I have one last question, and I wanted to devote the most time to this. And then I think we're gonna play the trailer one more time, and then you can give us some final thoughts, some final well, things, whatever you want to say. You can do whatever you want here. It's your space today. And then we're gonna go and raid Paul Kuka, who is playing the demo as well. So my last question is how can folks listening, either if this is being watched on TikTok later, on YouTube later, right now in Twitch, how can people listening or watching support the Office type, Heavy Thought Studios, and games that include queer themes?
Yes, so first and foremost, the demo is currently on Steam, available for free for anyone. Um, Wishlisting it there really helps us. It helps give us sort of a gauge of how many people are interested, um, and also helps us in our efforts to find a publisher and things like that. Um, but for the community as a whole, support games like this. It's okay if you're not supporting us specifically. Find other games that you enjoy, um, and help bring these sort of voices into the mainstream media. Make it normalized. Um, and we hope you'll start that journey with us.
Anything else from the two of you? Dan? All right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on my queer soapbox for a lot of this stream, but I'm just this is a passion project. We're all very passionate about so many aspects of this game, and I'm someone who like transitioned while I was working on this game, so it's also one of those things that like you come to realizations at different parts of your life, and it's nice to have things available that remind you that you're not alone. And so whether it's our game, I would love for it to be, but if there's something else, like another game that you feel particularly passionate about that has these sort of stories, like Jack said, just hype them up, talk about them to your friends, post about them on your Instagram story, do whatever you can, because right now is a time, I think, where a lot of people are probably scared to be who they are. Right now is probably a time where a lot of people are questioning who they are and are trying to stay in boxes or in closets that are not necessarily for them, just for their own safety. And I'm not going to tell you that our dating sim is going to absolutely change the world, but it starts in small places, like any movement. There's always going to be small things that snowball. And just you sharing your love and support for queer narratives is something that is going to help it be normalized and maybe help someone not feel so alone and so confused.
I love your soap.
Yeah. Please stay in your box. On your box, not in your box. And like, never underestimate the power of queer joy. End of the day, we're making a game, and while there are serious narrative elements, it's meant to be played. And you can stream things, you can play with others, you can gift games to people. I think it's a great way to expose people to narratives that they maybe wouldn't say otherwise. We've all heard somebody say, "Oh, you got to watch this show on Netflix, you got to do this." There's a lot of great cheap indie games you could send to somebody for under $5. And once they have that, it's like, well, somebody gifted me a game, I gotta try it. And I think that's great to expose people of any shades or persuasions and really just embrace that playful, joyful nature of anything in the queer space. Because while survival can be challenging even more than usual, we have to remember to really live and prosper and share and create that joy with other people. Yes.
I was like, I don't know if that has to be struck from the books for copyright, but I gotta go for it.
It's an emote. It's an emoji. I love that. I love all your responses. Support games that are queer or have queer elements. Be a shopaholic like me and buy $5 games, gift them to your friends. But no, just support games. Like, what I always like to say is, you gotta eat, right? But if you're gonna go buy McDonald's or whatever for $5, why not just go use that on a game developer, right? Make something at home. If you have that option. Live long and prosper. Wear soap. I love it all. I love it all. I'm going to play your trailer one last time, and then I'll give you a chance to say goodbye. And then I'm going to play that Dolly song again while we say thank you for watching. We're going to be muted, and we can then we can gossip after while we raid Paul Kuka. How does that sound? All right.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right.
Excellent.
I'm gonna play this this video one more time, and I'm gonna mute us. Y'all can talk while this is happening. I think. Don't talk, just in case. Okay. That was the trailer, y'all. Make sure to go wishlist it on Steam. And any other game developers you ever see, if you want to support them, please, it's the freest thing you can do. Wishlist it on Steam. Go make an account and wishlist it on Steam. And then use that account. You could also go to this PayPal link if you want to support Heavy Thought Studios directly, which is right there in chat. And is there anything else the three of you would like to say before I play Dolly and we go and raid Palkuka?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much for the grant. It's amazing to be a part of a stream like this, to really connect more with our community and the people who want to see games like this. It was really fun. Thanks for the questions.
Thank you. All right, folks. My name is Raylan Shoney, and I'm the CEO of Qweerty Gamers, and I'm so happy to have Heavy Thought Studios here. We are going to go ahead and do a raid, which is, Clara, that's what we do on Twitch at the end, and that sends our audience over to another Twitch stream. That's your Twitch
Will
101.
there be a test after this?
There will be a test. Pop quiz. So I will send a raid message in chat if you are a sub. If you're not a sub, use that one. If you are a sub, you can use the second one, which looks like this when you're a sub. And we're going to be rating our director of development, Paul Kuka. So I will Paul Kuka. And all right, everyone, thank you so much. I'm going to put the Dolly song on, and you're not going to hear us anymore, but you can go and watch this VOD on YouTube after, maybe in a day or so. The VOD will be available on Twitch literally right after this stream, and I'll be clipping some of this for TikTok. And we will see you again soon. And if you want to follow us on our socials, there's our social media. All right, folks, bye!